What is going on, YouTube? This is Jim with your WrestleMania 32 full report and reactions. 101,763 attendees were live in Dallas, Texas for the biggest WrestleMania event ever. Did it live up to the hype? Yes, it did. And I would argue this is one of the best WrestleMania events I have ever seen. Starting off the main action, I'm going to skip all the pre-coverage stuff because it wasn't really that exciting. The main event was 5 hours this time. It started at 7 to about midnight, so they're getting longer and longer. But I watched it all for you guys, and I loved every second of it. Starting off the main event, we had the ladder match for the Intercontinental title. Cara, Kevin Owens, Dolph Ziggler, Stardust, Sami Zayn, The Miz, and Zack Ryder threw down for the Intercontinental strap. It was a typical ladder match with a lot of superstars eliminating themselves in a sense, knocking each other out in these really large spots. And that was kind of the pace of the match. There were some really, really good moments. Cara getting pushed off a ladder through Stardust, who was already on another ladder, and the ladder shattering was probably the highlight of that match. Sami Zayn did a really rough suplex on Kevin Owens. I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Owens was legitimately hurt. Although I didn't see any referees put up the universal "I'm injured" symbol, I will say that definitely that was pretty rough. Everyone thought Sami Zayn was going to win because Sami Zayn's kind of come back from the NXT. He's kind of the face of the NXT. Him and Kevin Owens, who is the defending champion, have had a lot of history and animosity kind of going up the ranks together. But surprisingly, the WWE threw us a bone and gave Zack Ryder the belt. This is Zack Ryder's first strap as far as I can remember. But it was really, really cool moment. You know, Zack Ryder really put himself out there years ago, trying to make his YouTube and Twitter channel and kind of getting himself out there and doing a lot of shameless self-promotions. Him and John Cena had an angle a couple years ago where they kind of teamed up against Evil Kane, but nothing ever really half of it, and Zack Ryder fell into obscurity. Unfortunately, the Intercontinental title is usually an obscure belt, but the fact that they gave it to him is kind of nice for the guy, and I am happy for him because I do think he is a good wrestler, and I think he's definitely deserved it. So what a great way to start off the night. Then we had a, I don't know how many times, grudge match between AJ Styles and Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho is an extremely vocal wrestler, and I think what makes this so interesting for me is that he's always screaming like, AJ, you suck, you're a piece of crap, get up, and he's always slapping him in the face. I thought that was really, really good. There were a lot of spots revolving around their kind of finishing moves, you know, Chris Jericho doing a lot of walls of Jericho, doing different types of code breakers off the top rope, code breakers off of like different attacks. Jericho actually borrowed AJ Styles' finishing move, which is like the huge disrespect in wrestling, the Styles Clash. AJ kicked out of that. Then AJ went for the phenomenal forearm off the top rope, and once again, he ate a monster code breaker coming down. It was a very well timed. It looked very, very played out. AJ sold it very, very well, and yeah. Let's see. I have what else? What did I not have? Oh, yeah. So when he was coming down for the move, Chris Jericho did this kind of weird thing where it looked like he was going to pull the ref or push the ref out of the way, and it made AJ stutter just a little bit in midair because I guess he didn't want to hit the referee. That's when the code breaker went off, and Chris Jericho picked up the win. I think it does better right now for Chris Jericho to get the win. I know AJ Styles is new. He's in the WWE. He's kind of working his way up the ranks, but I think he doesn't really gain a whole lot from winning right now over Chris Jericho. I hope this feud starts to die down a little bit, and maybe we get some new competition in there. But I will say that, you know, AJ coming off looking really, really great. I've been following his career for quite a while. I remember seeing him at Impact Wrestling when Hulk Hogan took over. He was really hyped up as kind of the main eventer there. So it's cool to see him come over to WWE. I know he's got a huge following already. He's definitely a fan favorite. A little bit of a setback probably won't hurt him too much in the long run. But I thought it was a very, very well done match, largely in part, though, because Chris Jericho is just so good at really selling that villain role, and a lot of hair pulling and slapping people in the face and screaming at him, and you're stupid, and why are you doing this? And it really makes you hate the guy. So I appreciate that, and I thought that was a great, great, great match. Then we had The New Day, who came out in a giant box of booty-O's. wearing Dragon Ball Z armor with their unicorn horns, throw off against the League of Nations. I don't know what the League of Nations story is. They're not really a main eventer. They're really just kind of floating around. It's like they had a bunch of heels sitting around, and they put them together in this staple that hasn't really done a whole lot for anybody. Wade Barrett actually sat this one out. So you had Rusev, Sheamus, and Alberto fighting. Xavier Woods got beat up early on. Kofi rallies a little bit. But I will say that there was a really good spot with Big E doing a triple spear. Basically, he speared all three guys through the ropes. I thought that was really, really good. And Wade Barrett, of course, does an illegal bull hammer, which ends the match. Now, the New Day loses. It wasn't for the title or anything. Titles, I should say, the tag team titles. It was just a for fun match. But the New Day isn't really that exciting to watch without Xavier Woods' antics outside the ring, where he's playing Francesca the trombone, or just being a goofball, or screaming, or when Big E isn't doing his notorious booty shake, or Kofi's just being a clown. When all three of them are competing, it's just not that fun. And I think that's what my biggest complaint with the match was, is the New Day is really more of a heel, joking tag team. The fact that they've held the strap this long is incredible. But it's more fun when they're just being dicks to the audience, when they're kind of New Day rocks and everybody's booing at them, but they pretend like they don't understand or hear it, and they're all just like, hey, we're doing a service for you. We're God's gift to wrestling. But when all three of them are competing, it just wasn't that exciting. So I would say this match was kind of a stinker. The League of Nations winning does nothing for them. The New Day losing does nothing for them. After the match, Wade Barrett gets on the microphone and says, no three men can beat us. Well, lucky for you, Wade Barrett, that Heartbreak Kid, Mick Foley, and Stone Cold Steve Austin come out and kind of save what the wreckage of this match was. Of course, they all pull out their finishers almost immediately. You got Sacco, you got Sweet Chin Music, and of course, the notorious Stone Cold Stunner. Rusev and Wade Barrett sold this so well. The way that they ate those stunners was arguably one of the best. If you want to see a bad sell of a stunner, go check out Vince McMahon's stunner, where he just gets stunned one time and he just collapses on the ring. It looks horrible. But both Rusev and Wade Barrett popped up and flopped over like dead fish, and that was really cool. Then, of course, the New Day comes in and they have a dance-off, and Xavier Woods tries to get Stone Cold Steve Austin into the mix. And, of course, Stone Cold starts dancing and everybody's cheering and having fun. And then, boom, stunner. Now, the two cool things that came out of this was, one, Steve Austin was doing his notorious double flick you off move. And number two is that he drank a shit ton of beer. And I thought that was really, really cool. And the whole PG era, it was nice to see Stone Cold, at least for a little bit, revert back to his old ways. And it was very well appreciated by myself and by a lot of the crowd, just by the pop that he got. So that was really, really cool, and I enjoyed that. Next, we had this big street fight between Dean Ambrose and Brock Lesnar. Now, Dean Ambrose in the last couple weeks has been acting as if he's immortal, Dean Ambrose, and you can't hurt me. And there was an episode a couple weeks ago where Brock Lesnar broke his neck, and the guy's crawling back into the ring after hijacking the ambulance. He eats a bunch of F5s and suplexes, and he's like, I'll still get you, Brock. And, of course, Brock is being sold as the beast that he is, with these giant traps that almost stick up over his ears now. That guy is just so jacked up at this point. I've never seen... I think he's bigger... I think he's more jacked up than The Rock, which is surprising. I'd love to see a side shot of them, side-by-side, a screenshot of them side-by-side, because I have a feeling that Brock Lesnar would make The Rock look like a twig at this point. Brock Lesnar is huge. Anyways... It was really cool because when Dean Ambrose comes out, he's wearing Brock Lesnar's Suplex City t-shirt, but he's got his Dean Ambrose logo spray painted over like he's vandalizing the street sign. I thought that was just a neat little touch. Anyways, Brock starts off with an early domination. I think that's kind of what everybody expected. Brock, he gets a little bit of Dean Ambrose rallies very slightly with a kendo stick, and then immediately goes back to Brock. And this continues for a long time. 13 suplexes in total by my count. Dean Ambrose kind of rallies with a low blow, which is kind of funny because, that's more of a heel move. But, of course, everybody cheers and goes nuts. That's when Dean Ambrose goes into crazy-ass Dean Ambrose mode. He tries to pull out a chainsaw, which is insane. He gets a fire extinguisher. And then he has a barbed bat, a baseball bat with barbed wire wrapped around it. I'm like, oh my God, he's going to light this thing on fire. Because I think that was a weapon in WWE 2K13. And I'm like, oh my God, he's bringing the barbed wire back. But thankfully, no one was hit with a barbed wire bat in the face. Of course, Brock, being the beast that he is, ducks under it, slams Dean Ambrose for yet another suplex, and then hits him for an F5 on a pile of chairs and ends it. It was a really, really good no-holds-barred street fight match. It was really, really good. Anytime you can have two guys who hate each other that much get in the ring and just use weapons and all that kind of stuff to really fight each other, it's really good. And Dean Ambrose is just the craziest, most underappreciated fan favorite there is right now. The guy could be the champion. I think everyone would love it. The fact that he's just so crazy, the fact that this guy who probably weighs 140 pounds soaking wet is going in the ring against Brock Lesnar and actually putting on a fight, actually making it entertaining and making you root for him like he's got a chance, this scrappy little guy who never gives up. That's really, really cool. And I think that's one of Dean Ambrose's most valued assets, if you want to think of it that way, is just he's got the heart of a champion. He really does, and he sells himself so well. So even though Brock won, even though Dean lost, it doesn't matter. The fans won because that match was incredible. And it didn't go on long. It didn't go on too long. There was definitely a lot of spots. I would love to see more carnage in terms of like some tables, maybe some announce tables, that sort of thing. But all in all, the fact that these guys, stacking the chairs on each other, the chainsaw being pulled out, that's just something you don't see very often. So really good match. I really appreciated that one. I would say that was probably one of the top 3 matches of the night. Then we get a little bit of history on the Women's Diva title, and they've announced that it's going back to the Women's Championship title. It used to be the Divas title. Long ago, it was the Women's Championship title. Then they rebranded it. Now they're rebranding it back. Snoop Dogg actually comes out and sings Sasha Banks' theme song, and it turns out that they're actually cousins. I don't know how cousins they really are, like The Rock is cousins with every freaking, like, wrestler that's, like, Roman Reigns he's cousins with the Usos, so I don't know how liberally they use the word cousins, but the fact that he comes out, he was a Hall of Fame nominee, he was, like, the celebrity pick for 2016, so he comes out and sings Sasha Banks' theme song. I thought that was really cool. So it was a triple threat match between Charlotte, the defending champion, Becky Lynch, and Sasha Banks. This is probably the best Divas match I've ever seen. If I had to really think about it, there's probably a few Nikki Bella matches where she was really kind of on her A game when she was like the height of her championship. That was probably maybe on the same par as technically amazing as this match. But wow, this was a really good triple threat match, and I wish they booked the guys' triple threat match like this. You heard me mention earlier on during the ladder match where you had a lot of guys who would get knocked out of the ring, and it'd just always be one-on-one action with a bunch of people in the peripheral. This match was a true triple threat match for the most part, where all 3 superstars, and yes, they're calling the Divas superstars now, and I like that, were really engaged almost the entire time. It was a lot of flurry, a lot of high offensive maneuvers. There was a couple really good dives by Sasha. Charlotte was doing a lot of submissions that were countered by Becky, that were then countered by Sasha. You had a lot of action in the corner where, like, Charlotte moonsaults off the top rope. Then there's a bunch of submissions going back and forth. Charlotte tries to sub Becky. Becky does this. It was a lot of just action. I mean, it's hard to really give you guys a play-by-play because that's how a triple threat match should be. It should always be on par. You have 3 people in there fighting. So there's always somebody who's the fresher man or woman in this case who's really pushing the action, and I like that. Early on, Ric Flair got knocked down, and I was hoping he would be a non-factor in this match. But unfortunately, they went back to the tried and true, Ric Flair's the heel. He's going to do anything to protect his daughter, and that's exactly what he does. During a submission maneuver on Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks tries to crawl back in the ring to interrupt, and Ric Flair grabs her ankle and prevents her from interrupting the submission, and as a result, Becky Lynch has to tap out, and Charlotte retains, or earns, I guess, the new new women's title. She retires the Divas Championship. And it was a good match, but I don't think they had to go down that angle, and I wish the Women's Championship could stand on its own merit. I don't think you need Ric Flair selling the Divas Championship, I think, or the Women's Championship. I think it does it on its own. Now, I like the whole idea of managers. I like the heel managers. Paul Heyman, Stephanie, McMahon, even Xavier Woods, you could argue. These heel managers who come out and kind of like, interrupt the referee and try to, do the low blows and the brass knuckles and all that kind of stuff. But, at some point you got to just kind of like let it go. And I know that Ric Flair's out there trying to promote his daughter, but, she's already made it. She's on the top. She's been the champion now for 176 days, 177 days. I don't think it needed to end that way. So that's my only negative thing about the match was I thought the ending was a little hokey. But Charlotte retains, good for her. I would like to see Sasha Banks get the title eventually. Becky Lynch just seems kind of out there. I don't really think she's done enough to separate herself from the herd yet, so I think it's a bad idea giving her the belt. But Sasha Banks definitely has a very unique personality and a very unique style. And coming from the NXT as a champion, I think that would help her a lot in the main roster. So we'll see how that feud continues on. Then we had, by far, no kidding, the match of the night. Shane McMahon versus The Undertaker. I'm getting choked up thinking about it. Holy cow. Shane McMahon is a 46-year-old man who wrestles like he is 14 or 15. Maybe more like 16. How about that? He's mature. He's very, very quick. He can take a bump or three. It was amazing. I mean, he ate a snake eyes from Undertaker. He ate a last ride from Undertaker, a choke slam on the stairs, the Hell's Gate. I did not see the old school tonight. I was surprised. Usually Usually Undertaker always does his kind of like 5 moves of doom, like similar to what Cena has, but I did not see the old school tonight, but that's okay. Some of the highlights, Shane McMahon, who's coming out jabbing and trying to basically rope, goat rope Undertaker, doing light jabs backing off, and it was really, really cool to see because Undertaker, who is now booked as this giant monster, taking these wild swings at Shane, and Shane's missing and cutting under him and doing 2 or 3 jabs in his kidneys or quick knees or light kicks to his ankles. It really reminded me of a UFC match. And I like that because that's how really I would think if Shane McMahon was fighting Undertaker, I would think that's how it would be. You would not want to stand toe-to-toe against Undertaker, who they strike up or who they build up as this insane striker. You wouldn't want to do that. I would think you would want to have a guy who's more nimble and kind of quick against Undertaker, who's this big, lumbering monster. Anyways, when Undertaker does connect with Shane, Shane jumps 5 feet in the air and sells it like he got hit by a Mack truck. It was great. Shane manages to pull off his notorious coast-to-coast move, where he jumps one entire corner of the turnbuckle to the other side, kicks Undertaker with a well-timed garbage can in his chest. That was an amazing spot. Then Shane pulls out some bolt cutters and he cuts down the cell. And I'm like, okay, what's he going to do with this? Well, before he can do anything, Undertaker picks him up and slams him through the cell door. So now they're outside the ring. There's a lot of action back and forth. Tables are being dismantled. The Spanish announce table looks like it's getting ready to go. Monitors are being used as weapons. Shane McMahon grabs a toolbox and smashes over Undertaker's head. All the tools scatter everywhere. Then Shane McMahon looks up, and he just looks up for a second at the top of the ring. And I'm like, oh, my God. Now, the cell is probably 20 to 25 feet tall. It's definitely like a 2-story building, right? He climbs up the damn cell, and he jumps. He jumps. I cannot tell you. I'm hitting the microphone. I cannot tell you guys how insane this spot is. Mick Foley did this a long time ago against Taker, but Mick Foley kind of rolled off the cage. Shane McMahon jumped off the cage, and he comes crashing down for his elbow. And at the last second, Undertaker rolls out of the way, and Shane McMahon blasts through this announce table. And, it explodes. Particle board just blows 30 feet in every direction. It was insane. Of course, Undertaker's sitting there. The look on Taker's face is holy shit, this guy is crazy. Unfortunately, Taker ends up dragging Shane McMahon. Actually, not dragging, he carries him over his shoulder like a sack of presents. And Shane McMahon, of course, is like, bring it. And Undertaker kind of pats him on the head like, there, little boy, and puts a tombstone on him and wins the match, which retains Undertaker's legacy. He can continue to compete in WrestleMania. I would like to see Shane back, though. I was kind of hoping Shane might win. The stipulation with this match is if Shane did win, he would get to be the owner of Raw and kind of take over Raw. That didn't get to happen. But you know what? It was amazing. I can't say enough good things about what Shane McMahon does. The energy this guy brings, he's a real gift to the industry. When he wrestled back when he was, the first time before he left in the mid-2000s, for a non-wrestler, he just always sold the event really well, and he was really, really cool to watch. I've never seen a spot like that, and it'll be on YouTube, I'm sure. You got to check it out, but wow. What a great match, though. Then they had the André the Giant Battle Royale. Who cares? I'll tell you something kind of funny. There's a bunch of scrubs that come in, like the R-Truths of the world. Mark Henry gets his own introduction. Kane gets his own introduction. Diamond Dallas Page, yep, he's a little alumni. He gets his own introduction. Big Show gets his own introduction. And Shaquille O'Neal gets to come in and fight. He gets his own introduction. One of the scrubs that snuck in was Tanaka. He's dressed like an Indian or something from like 20 years ago. The match itself was horrendous. These matches are stupid. It's just basically a way to get everybody who didn't get to have a WrestleMania moment in the main event or something. I don't know, or in the pay-per-view, I should say. Shaq and Big Show's double choke slam elimination was definitely the highlight of it. The rest of it really means nothing, and Baron Corbin eliminated Kane to win. Who cares? No one goes on with this. I know that Cesaro won it, Big Show's won it, and now Baron Corbin's won it. I don't know what it does for your career. I don't really know. It doesn't matter. They carry on the trophy for a couple weeks until somebody destroys it. That's what always happens. Somebody will throw it out of the ring and shatter it, and then the guy gets mad. You have a meaningless feud, and they go on. Who cares? But hey, Shaq was in WrestleMania. How cool was that? These matches are throwaways. Then The Rock comes out. And he starts talking about, well, first he comes out with a flamethrower. I mean, how cool is that? And he's got his name, and he like flame throws his name, and his name's like all smoking, and fire's going off, and Pyro City, man. He comes in the ring, and he gives the attendance number, and he's talking about how they broke a WrestleMania record and how excited he is to be a part of WrestleMania again, and blah, 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 blah. And we're all happy to see The Rock. He left a long time ago. Then he kind of dissed the WWE Universe. He had a really good feud with John Cena, which brought into light how kind of stupid he was for leaving. Not stupid. I mean, he doesn't owe us anything. He really doesn't. But he kind of does in a sense that, like, the fans put him on the map. The fans are, he's got his following from WWE. That is still his biggest fan base. And it was a very big diss to the WWE Universe when he just vanished for like 6 years. And that feud with John Cena really brought him back. And since then, he's been much more active with the community. And I think we're all more appreciative of that. Anyways, Bray Wyatt comes out, and Bray Wyatt starts talking crap. Now, Bray Wyatt is an amazing character that has just been so misused. I could talk for 3 hours on that alone, but I will spare you those details for right now. Anyway, Rock pulls off his pants. He's got his little wrestling spandex. He's like, let's do this. Now we have an impromptu match. Everyone's going nuts. Oh, my God. The Rock's going to compete versus Rowan Harper in WrestleMania. The match starts. They're circling around each other. Rock immediately walks up, rock bottoms, 6-second match. That was it. I'm like, what? 6 seconds, that's it. And like, oh, it's a new WrestleMania record. I don't think it is, actually. I think Sheamus lost his belt to Daniel Bryan or something. He did something with a bro kicker. He got bro kicked, and he lost his belt. And I think that's still the record, but whatever. Anyways, excuse me. Anyways, so that was the match. And I'm like, this sucks. Well, of course, the Wyatt family isn't having that. So they circle the ring. Minus Luke, who actually is hurt. Luke's having knee surgery or something. They circle the ring. It's like, okay, now shit's going to get real. Rock is out, man. 3-1. Who is going to save him? John Cena is going to save him. And John Cena comes back. This guy is immortal. He's got like neck surgery, shoulder surgery. I don't know what was wrong with him this time. He's not due back for like another 6 months. The dude runs down the ring. He defends The Rock in this awesome WrestleMania moment. Two brothers standing against the tides of darkness. They do their finishers. The crowd goes nuts. I don't know if John's back. We'll have to watch tomorrow night on Raw and see if he's back or if this is just a one-off and he's going to be gone for a while. But JBL said it best. You cannot have WrestleMania with John Cena. I agree 10,000%. I am so happy to see that guy. You have no idea how much I love John Cena. It was awesome. I'm glowing because of it. It was a great, great moment, which really kind of washes out our bad taste in our mouth from that stupid Andre the Giant match. Anyways, then we head into the finale. Roman Reigns versus Triple H for the big belt, the strap of straps, the World Championship title. Now, Stephanie comes out. No, real quick, to go back a second. Triple H has the best introductions in WrestleMania ever. Just Google Triple H WrestleMania introduction. He always comes out in this really crazy barbarian skull outfit. Sometimes it's themed after like the Terminator or like a pop culture thing. This year, Stephanie comes out wearing it. And she's like the Banshee Queen or something. I don't know what her gimmick was, but I loved it. It was very Mad Max-esque. And she comes out and starts talking about how like all hope is gone, bow for the King of Kings. And you really got this sense of like, this dark demon, this impending doom was going to come upon the universe. And of course, Hunter comes out as a total badass that he is. And so Roman comes out, really not much fanfare other than he does his Roman punch into the ground and like all these fireworks go off around him. But Triple H, still best introduction of WrestleMania. The best consistently introduction of WrestleManias ever. The match was so-so. I was kind of disappointed. It was kind of hard to focus over the solid chance of Roman sucks. Apparently the fan base still does not like Roman. It was a very slow pace, but it was okay because there's a lot of bombs. There's a lot of holds. It was very methodical. Triple H is known as the cerebral assassin. And one of his notoriously, moves or like one of his great movesets is he'll focus on something and he'll burn you down. So he kept focusing on Roman's wrists. And Roman can't punch with his, when he's got a lot of arm bars, Roman doesn't have the power for his wind-up punch. He's going to like break Roman's arm. He's going to do different kinds of holds and bombs over and over and over. And there was a lot of action inside and outside the ring. I saw people getting speared through announce tables, and or not announce tables, the barriers. It was really good. Of course, the referee, boy, when they're outside the ring, they were outside for like 12 minutes, and he's like, 2. I mean, I get it that, they're not going to do a count out, and I realize that 10 seconds isn't really 10 seconds, but it was really long, a lot of action outside the ring. Anyways, it's getting close to the end because it's almost midnight, right? It's like, okay, this thing's got to come to an end. We're all like about to pass out from like wrestling comas at this point. We've been watching this show for so long. And they get into this really cool this kind of thing at the end where Hunter decides, you know what, I can't beat Roman, I guess. Maybe that's what he thinks. Maybe he's just tired of it. And he pulls out the notorious Roman Reigns sledge. The sledge. The sledge is going to be what ends it. And shenanigans ensue. Roman ends up spearing Stephanie. The ref somehow gets in the way. Roman just blows Stephanie over. It was incredible. I've never seen somebody get that hard of an impact before. I mean, he really got the impression. I mean, okay, Roman's a big guy. He's jacked up. He's pretty built. Stephanie's, for a female, she's pretty strong too. But, like, there's such a huge height difference, such a huge weight difference. Boy, she sold that so well. I mean, I talked about how like Rusev sold the stunner. Stephanie totally sold the spear. It was really, really well done. She just goes blowing, she just ignites and dies. Anyways, that angers Triple H, who now wrestles recklessly like a caged animal. He's swinging like a madman, and Roman picks him apart, hits him with a double Superman punch and then a spear to become the new WWE champion. Now, I don't like when these champions are they're not full-time, and that's really what Triple H had become, a non-defending champion, is I guess what you could say. Roman getting the belt, I guess, is okay. I don't see him being the long-term solution to WWE. I'm hoping that Seth comes back at some time soon. But I think Dean and Ambrose should get it. I would love to see a feud between Dean and Roman, whether one of them turns into a heel or they're just friendly bros fighting for the sake of fighting. I have no idea. But all in all, I have to say this WrestleMania was absolutely incredible. You're looking at the time and you're like, dude, this guy talked for 30 minutes about wrestling. That's right. I watched like 5.5, 6 hours of wrestling to cut it down to you guys for the bare bones, no kidding, 30-minute quick fix. Arguably one of the best WrestleManias, I think, ever. I think this one will hold the test of time. I think people look back at a lot of these matches and a lot of these spots and say, wow, it was done really well. And I'm one of those people. And hey, anytime John Cena makes a surprise appearance, it's already escalated up to the top of the list, in my opinion. But if you're not a John Cena fanboy, that's okay, because there's so many other cool things to witness. And it was all in all a great match. And if you're not a fan of wrestling, you should be, because this was some of the best I've ever seen. That's all I have. I got to go to bed. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, you can't see me.